So there's been a lot that I've learned over the last 6 months and being in high ticket sales and being on the offer that I'm on. And man, it's been a blast. I mean, there's been definitely some ups and some downs, and there's been a lot that I've learned over the period of time. And really, the one of the biggest things that I've learned, and I'm somebody that's definitely taking the time to learn how to communicate. Right? I think communication is so important, and it's like the more you put in like high stakes positions, the more you're going to learn. Right? Because the more there's at stake. And so you have to be very critical of how you act in the moment and acting fast and making sure that just the way you respond is accurate in the moment. And so I know this sounds kind of vague, so I'm gonna give some really concise examples, and yeah, we'll just touch on some things. So, oh man, as I go over in my head, I'm just like thinking about all the calls that I've been on, the ones that were really good, the ones that weren't good at all, right? And so one of the things that I learned is that you want to obviously, like, this is probably going to sound obvious to a lot of you guys that are in sales, is that you want to address a lot of the things before, like, the prospect has a chance to, right? But it's a little bit deeper than that, because it's not just like overcoming the objection first, but it's also reframing it, right? Because a lot of time these people come to the calls, and we all have limiting beliefs, right? We all have limiting beliefs that were instilled in us by people that were just as lost as we are, right? And just trying to figure it out. And so a big part of that is just really being able to address those limiting beliefs and being able to pick up on what kind of person this is, so that way I can address, what kind of limiting belief they have, whether it's around time, it's around money. I know money is a huge one. Money is an absolutely big one, right? And so even like, you got to have stories to overcome these, because it's very similar. Like, if you think about what is the most sold book ever in history, in human history, it's the Bible, right? The Bible is the most sold book ever. And when you think about the Bible, what is the Bible? The Bible is a book that's full of what? Stories. And so I think that's such a beautiful thing, because it's in the stories that our mind is like reshaped. That's why like a lot of people go through the Bible and they just, I have this come to Jesus moment, no pun intended, but it's because that their mind was just reframed and reshifted. Like, they just think differently because the story hits on a point so deeply. It's like the saying, facts tell, stories tell. And so it's very similar to that. So if you're able to tell a story that can overcome that objection before it comes up, even better, especially if you pick on it. You don't want to, from my experience, because I'm like, all right, I'm going to tell all these stories, right, to make sure that I don't get any objections at all. Biggest mistake ever, because you will come off annoying, because it's like this person is, especially if there's somebody that's a lot more educated and a lot more sophisticated, and you tell them a story about money, they're like, dude, I don't have a problem. Like, I already have my card out. You're wasting my time. And so it's really important that you want to tell the right story at the right time. And so a story that I have, right, is, and I love telling this one, because it's, for one, it's true, and two, I'm passionate about it because it actually changed my life. And so the first time I ever had to invest into myself, it was for a inner circle mastermind, and it was roughly $4,000, right? And now at the time, I didn't have $4,000 in cash or in credit. And so, when I was trying, I remember that the closer asked me, he's like, man, what would this be worth to you, right? And my not knowing self at the time would say, man, that would be priceless, right? And before he asked that, I should give you some context. Before he said, what would that be worth to you? I told him all my goals that I wanted to hit, and he was like, if you're able to do this, 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 and this, what would that be worth to you? If we were able to help you hit this, 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 and this, what would that be worth to you? And so I was like, man, it'd be priceless. And he's like, great, man. Well, it's only $4,000, right? I'm like, oh, I don't have $4,000 in cash or in credit. So at the time, I had to become resourceful. And so at the time, I was a truck driver. And, I made enough to pay the bills. But to add on a $4,000, investment, it was going to put me in a very tight position. And, at the time, I had a lot of stuff going on, I had a lot of bills, And so I was like, well, I already work 60 hours a week, but I'm so sick of where I'm at in my life that I'm just willing to draw a line in the sand. And so whatever it took, right? And so I'm like, well, I'm thinking about, like, obviously I can't use credit. My credit limit was like $1,000. And so I'm like, okay. I was like, you guys have like a payment plan or something? And, you know, I was able to get a payment plan, but it required me to start doing Uber on the weekend. And at the time, like, that didn't make sense to anybody. Like, what's this online scam thing that you're doing? And so I was the only one that had belief in it, right? And so I say all that to say that in that moment, I didn't have the resources, so I had to become resourceful, and I did. And I had to start doing Uber on the weekend. It was uncomfortable. I mean, I was already working 6 hours a week in a truck, and then I had to drive even more, you know, and so it was a lot. But looking back, what got me into the position that I'm in now was taking that leap. And the only person that could have believed in that was me. And so when you tell something like a story like this to a prospect, right, it's shifting their mind to not, so when you drop the price, they're not going to think, oh man, like that's a lot of money. I don't have that. Like I don't have that in cash or in credit. No, because you just told them a story how they, you know, how you had to become resourceful. So they're not going to say, well, they're going to think in their mind that that's now a door you open in their mind, right? That's a browser you open, and they could now search in that browser, right? That Google search, what could I do to afford this, right? And so you prime the brain to start thinking of solutions rather than problems. That's really the big thing is with reframes is you wanna shift somebody's thinking more to think about solutions and problems. And that's how successful people operate, right? They're not thinking about all the problems they got, they're thinking about the solutions, right? And so that's huge. That's such a huge thing. And there's been a lot of times where I've told that story. Let's say I didn't tell it in the beginning. I told it as I'm handling an objection, and it worked. It worked. But it's a lot more heavy lifting at the end because now you're in the pocket, right? You're fighting, and so it's one of those moments. I mean, it could work either way, but it's obviously always best to frame it in the beginning because it's such a more smoother sale and experience for the client. And that's another thing I want to hit on because we all get lay down sales, right? We all get the people that come to the calls with their card ready. And actually, that's how I am. I never call or hop on a call to buy something if I don't already have the money and I haven't already made the decision internally. I don't ever come to a call to get convinced. And so, you know, the people that do, it's like, don't just be an order taker. Like, you're still there to provide them with the experience of it, right? You're there to enhance the experience. So you have to really blow it up because, look, at the end of the day, like whatever you're selling, like what I sell is a coaching program, right? So this really has to do, like, the process of that call itself is going to translate into how they interpret everything. So the more priming and the more frames I throw them in, the more I'm able to get their mind in a very resourceful state and get them feeling like their identity is tied to somebody that is successful, somebody that can do anything that they put their mind to, the better results they're going to get with the program. And this was something I didn't obviously understand at first. Like when I first got into this, I'm like, okay, you know, just let me make some sales, let me get some money, let me learn how to handle objections. But you're there to provide value, because not only does it enhance their experience, it enhances your experience, right? And it also causes you to be in alignment with that kind of person as well, because you can't lead someone where you will not go, right? I forgot who's the person that said that quote. I don't know their name. I just heard it, but it said, you cannot teach somebody something you do not know, and you cannot lead somebody somewhere you will not go. And it's so true, right? It's so true. So at the end of the day, like, we have to be the ones that are doing the work ourselves, doing the work on ourselves as well. And we could then translate, and it's just, there's such a congruency because somebody, you know, at the end of the day, we could always sniff out intention. And so if the intention isn't fully there and the congruency isn't there, it affects the process of the conversation. And sometimes we do have bad days, we do have bad weeks, right? That's why it's so important to stay on the ball and kind of be self-aware. Having a coach is so vital because they can always see something that you can't see. There's a saying that I love using, and it goes, your nose is an inch above your mouth, but you still need somebody else to tell you when your breath stinks, right? And so sometimes we're so close to the problem that we can't necessarily see we can't see the problem itself because we're too close to it, right? We've all seen a fly smacking a window when there's another wide open window 5 feet away, right? And we're just like, dude, the way out is right there, right? And And so those are there's so much that I've learned, but this will be I'll be going on here for about 2-3 hours. So I wanted to make this as condensed as possible, and yeah, let me know what you found. What were some insights? What were some takeaways you got from the tangent that I just went on, and maybe something that clicked for you, something that resonated, something that you could apply to not only like your calls or the conversations you have. Because mind you, the thing about communication is we're always using it. We are always using communication, whether it's at work, whether it's with family, friends, girlfriend, boy. Like, we're always communicating with people, right? And that's how we get away. And I always say this, but the two most important things in life that we're not taught is communication and finance. So you have to go out of your own way to learn how to do it. And it will, like, the things that I've learned in being in high ticket sales and selling the coaching program that I sell is like my conversations outside have enhanced, right? And from getting my point across and being able to understand people, because it's not always about getting your way. Sometimes it's about listening to the person, and you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So you want to listen twice as much as you speak. And a lot of time, even if, yeah, sure, this is to get your way, you have to understand where the person's at first. Because if you don't understand where they're at and they don't feel understood, they're not open and they're not receptive. So it's such a vital thing, right? And so I'll end it off on that. I hope this was super insightful for you. If there was anything that really stuck out to you or anything that like feedback, anything, just go ahead and drop a comment. Obviously, I'm building the channel here, so I'm looking to see my growth here as well, and being able to just communicate a lot better on camera. That's something I'm working on currently. So we'll see you soon. Peace.